Good afternoon, traders, and happy Friday. Let's get into today's market recap and trade recap for Friday, August 11th, 2023. Good day in the account today and a mixed day in the market. Let's jump in and take a look at the markets, and we'll start off there and see what we did for the week and for the day. So PPI numbers came out this morning, and just another one of those up and down days. If we look at the daily chart here, you can see that we opened down right near this support level here. We moved down to fill the gap that we talked about yesterday. So this little gray area is the gap, and right in the middle of that gap is a previous resistance flipped to support level. So you get the support resistance flip. We came down, almost filled the gap, and then bounced off of that level and moved higher on SPY. So closing this no man's land between the 21 and the 50. MACD did turn up a tad today. We'll see if that continues next week. And RSI halted its decline temporarily on the day. So the question is, which way do we go? Anything can happen now. You can, look at this support area, and we could bounce higher and start to go to all new highs. Or we can break this level, hit the 50 MA and break that and head to new lows. So almost anything can happen. I would not be willing to make a call one way or the other. However, you do have a series of lower lows and lower highs. That being said, it's not a typically bullish move. However, if you look at the bigger picture here on the weekly, all right, so you've got higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, or higher high, higher low. So stair-stepping up still, and there's nothing to really be super concerned about on the weekly yet, except the fact that MACD is rolling over and RSI is heading down. 2 down weeks in a row does not make a market. So everybody who's bearish, you may be a little premature, and anyone who's bullish, you might be running out of time. So who knows what's happening in the market. We'll wait and see which direction we go. We'll just continue to trade our plan. If we look at the Qs, maybe a little bit different story on the Qs. We did finish lower on the day, 0.6% lower. We broke below the previous 2 days' lows. We finished almost dead even, though. We were down a little bit more, breaking that 50 EMA, which to me is a pretty important level to keep an eye on. So couldn't quite break it, finished just above it. Bollinger Bands are starting to open up. MACD is still heading lower. RSI is still heading lower. Weekly, same thing. MACD heading lower. RSI heading lower. You're in a PSAR bearish signal here. The Qs look a lot more potentially bearish, okay, than the SPYs do. And if we take it to IWM, this thing just continues to be in a nice little range here. It did move up a little bit on the day, fractionally. It was up a little bit more, sold off, but definitely finished off the lows, bouncing off the 50 EMA here. MACD still heading down. RSI has been heading down. On the weekly, MACD turning over, RSI heading lower, 2 down weeks in a row, but not triggering any kind of a bearish PSAR signal yet. So you just remain in this trading range. We're at the top of this range. There's a triple top here. If we can't really move through this, then look to come back down and maybe test the bottom of the range on IWM. Really, there's no concrete definitive direction. We have just a lot of sideways movement here. We've been stair-stepping higher. This is a bit of a little bit of a lower low here and some lower highs, but really it's pretty much just a straight down trend. So I wouldn't read a whole lot into that. At this point in time, VIX dropped again here. So VIX continues to drop. We are back down to 1484. So everybody who thought, well, volatility is awakened, and I see these Facebook posts from some of these guys, volatility is going crazy. No, it's not. It's at 1484 on the VIX. I don't know what you're looking at, but that's only a little fraction off of the 1270 that it was at for the lows of the year. So we are only 2 points off the lows of the year on the VIX. Don't get crazy, people, with the volatility. On the US dollar, a decent update today. Again, these long wicks, these big moves intraday on the US dollar, and then nothing at the end of the day. So we did gap up on the day, finished up the week. We finished up breaking this downtrend here, breaking back above the 21 EMA on the weekly. So the weekly on the dollar looking like it's a little bullish here. So we've got MACD popping up through on the histogram, RSI rising above 50 on the daily. MACD was was winding down, and then a big pop up today. Nothing says the dollar can't run higher, which is not necessarily great for every trade, but not a bad thing. And then if we look at bonds, TLT, just another down week overall. And if we look at the day, another down day. So we gapped down, stayed down, tried to push up a tad, but MACD's trying to reverse. RSI's trying to come off the lows, but maybe it's heading back down. But on the daily, but on the weekly, this thing does not look healthy, and I'm still pointing to a double bottom potential unless we even break this support. But there's nothing on the MACD or the RSI or the chart that makes me want to think that bonds have bottomed. So, there's again, some YouTubers out there, buy TMF, we're going all in, we're pushing in hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't even think they have hundreds of millions. I think they're trading fake accounts, but we're going all crazy, TLT and TMF. It's great to do that, and I don't disagree that long-term is probably a good play, but I'm not buying until I see the whites of its eyes. I'm not buying until I see this thing come down a little bit more and turn up. So then you'll see me pushing in millions and going all in or whatever on TLT and TMF. Anyway, you can save that for the online folks to create some nice headlines. If we look at 6A, which is the Aussie dollar futures, another down day, another down week. I mean, this thing has just tailed off 4 straight weeks in a row of down weeks. PSAR bullish or bearish signal twerked this week. MACD heading lower, RSI heading lower on the weekly. Not a great sign for the Aussie dollar, but the daily's trying to recover on MACD, and we are starting to get oversold. Doesn't mean we can't stay oversold. You saw last time we just started to get oversold. We were sitting at this 0.67 area, and we ran all the way down to 0.657, which is a pretty decent move lower once we even got, became the first part of getting oversold. We tried to come out of it and then failed back in again. So let's wait and see how this thing bases out. 6A, not a bad spot to potentially get long, potentially some support in here. We'll see how that goes. On the British pound futures, again, with the dollar getting some strength, we're not getting too much strength in either one of these names or the euro. A little bit of an update today. MACD trying to reverse RSI. We didn't make it to oversold. I'd rather see that. So I'm not convinced that we're going higher at this point in time. We've got overhead at the 50 EMA, the 21 EMA. Not too excited about where the British pound is going. It's in the low end. Not saying it's not a bad spot to do strangles, which we do, but not a great sign to get long on it. Let's take a look at oil, and oil continues to be strong. Had a good pullback yesterday, moved back up a little bit today. So solid on the daily. MACD starting to fade a little bit. RSI is not showing me newer highs as we're at some of these newer highs. So again, I still think a pullback in oil might be in order, maybe back to the 80 mark, somewhere in here, which would be this 21 EMA. This uptrend line continues to be in play. I'm not really looking at this support anymore. This previous pivot area here that was a resistance level is now potentially something to keep an eye on for more resistance. Can we get back above that line? Don't see a lot of great supports except down in here. So if I was looking at a support area, probably not a whole lot of recent stuff to take a look at here, but you've got the 50, the 200, and support all around the 77. I don't know that we get there. Energy is pretty strong. And then gold today was down on the day as well. So gold down a little bit on the day today, or pretty much flat. I'm sorry. So still in a downtrend. MACD heading lower, RSI heading lower. If we look at the weekly, On gold, same thing, 2 down weeks in a row, breaking the 21. MACD might be reversing back down, and RSI is just kind of meandering around. So it's a good spot in here. Look how tight these Bollinger Bands are. We've got a move coming one way or the other. If it's down, could be a significant down trend on gold. And then nat gas, which sold off decently yesterday, came back a fraction today, traded down, bounced off the 21 EMA, and is back up. So you got nat gas, still some weak MACD, RSI not doing great on the daily, but on the weekly, starting to put in a pretty nice little base here. Let's see, we are well off the highs for the week, but at a bullish PSAR flip this week. We'll see what happens. We've got our strangles and stuff running on nat gas. And then if you're in the soybean or corn markets, not great reports coming out, but these things continue to just get beat up. I'm going to extend this line out a little bit more here. So I think we've still got some support in this area. MACD trying to reverse higher. RSI not oversold, but low. Weekly doesn't look too great. Daily, maybe we've got some basing to put in here, but we are not oversold yet on ZS, which is fantastic because on these soybean futures, we have 2 free put debit spreads that are working right now. So in my opinion, this thing can go to 0 for all I care. We're going to make some good money if soybeans heads down. Looking at where we ended the week on tech, pretty ugly week, 2 weeks in a row on tech. Another down day today on tech, getting oversold, something to watch. XLY, which is your Tesla and Amazon, staying in this downtrend channel. Nothing new to report here on this channel. We're still within it. We're still above the 50. We still have a bullish PSAR signal. MACD and RSI just kind of flat in here. Now the weekly looks a little bit more weak as it's dropping through here on the RSI and the MACD. So weekly looks a lot worse than the daily does. So maybe we could get a little bit of a pop and then more selling coming. XLC, which is your Meta and your Google, pretty much the exact same scenarios, not much to cover there. XLE, fantastic day today, really cranking up here, had a fantastic week. I mean, if you look at XLE, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green weeks in a row of up moves. So good, solid run on energy, but it is definitely getting overbought here. MACD still running higher, could go more. We're getting close to the 3 ATR. We're at the Bollinger Bands. We have a bullish PSAR signal. Energy still rocking and rolling. And then financials look decent in here. I like this triangle or this wedge that we're in. We bounced back up above the 21 EMA. MACD trying to reverse today. Maybe RSI, it's kind of in the middle, but it's above 50 or right at 50. Looks decent. The weekly is a little more weak, but the daily doesn't look too bad. If we can pop above this trend line, I think you can get a good move on XLF in here. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. And then let's take a look at a few quick stocks, and then we'll move on. I know there's a lot of lines on here for Amazon, but a good week overall. Didn't finish the week higher, but it did move up pretty good, sold off a bit, but still looks decent. It's holding this support level here, right at this 136.5 level. Came down to it today, finished off of it, still above the 21, still above the 50, still above the trend line. You got MACD falling off a bit, but RSI still hanging around above 60. So with MACD positive, though, even though it's tailing off, still looks good. So Amazon, one of the better looking stocks in here. Apple, not one of the better looking stocks. It's had a pretty horrible 2 weeks in the markets after earnings or right before earnings. However, you've got support here about 176, and that's what we bounced off of today, moving a little bit higher. Still ended the day fractionally lower, but MACD starting to try to reverse higher a bit. It's definitely, in a negative area, but getting very oversold, and RSI is pretty oversold on the daily. So wouldn't be surprised to get a little bounce in Apple. The weekly, though, still very negative. I think we still could have some more downside to go on Apple. Microsoft, also not looking so hot, below the 50 and the 21 EMAs. Another poor day today, down another 0.6%. Got MACD trying to reverse a bit. We're not oversold on the RSI yet, but we're heading to that region. I think you could get some more downside. The weekly does not look healthy on Microsoft either. So you've got a couple that don't look healthy on the weekly. I don't think the weekly looks fantastic either on Meta, but it's better than Apple and Microsoft. And Meta just breaking through the 21 EMA. You got a PSAR bearish reversal. MACD's heading lower, and RSI is heading down. I think this thing goes lower. I'd be keeping an eye on the 50 EMA around 290-ish on that. Google, I saw some trades today on Google. Man, I just don't know. It does not look fantastic, although, again, the weekly's not bad, but I think you're running slowly out of momentum, but still not bad. The daily, though, MACD's turning down. RSI is still positive. You're still above the 21 and the 50. Would not be surprised to see it move a little bit higher as it bounces off this support area here. I'm not going to try to pick a direction on it. I'm staying away from Google. NVIDIA, you've got earnings coming up, but not for a little bit yet. Bad day today. Bad 2 weeks. Does not look good for the internals. MACD's dropping here on the histogram. So that's not, momentum's coming out, even though we are still in a positive territory, but RSI is heading lower. We're now oversold RSI and MACD heading lower on the daily, and we've broken this support. We've broken the 50 EMA now, and we might be chasing this gap. And this gap goes down all the way to about 317 from 408 right here. So earnings going to be a big deal coming up on NVIDIA. Earnings, I think, 23rd. What is the earnings? 23rd, yeah. So you got earnings on the 23rd, just about 2 weeks out from here. I think we could go quite a bit lower on NVIDIA. And then if we're looking at Tesla here, Tesla just hanging on for dear life. You've got this descending wedge here. If we break above it, could be a good bullish sign. We're trying to fill some of this gap. We have not completely filled the gap, even though we finished at the top of this support range here. Still could get a bounce, still could move higher. Maybe it fills the gap. Maybe it breaks the gap and goes lower. The weekly does not look healthy at all. You've had, this definite trend down for 4 straight weeks in it after hitting some highs. I think you just got to stand by and wait. If you want to play a break in one direction or another, we're going to get the sign Monday or Tuesday of next week. I'm going to point out a good trade opportunity that I saw today as we were scanning through, and that's Verizon. So if we look at Verizon, MACD trying to come off of these lower levels and reverse higher, with RSI reversing higher. Earnings over with. You had a slight beat, sold off, trying to bounce back a little bit today. So the weekly, nothing fantastic here. You're below, these 21 and 50s, but on the daily, this could be a nice, interesting area. Look at MACD popping a positive on the histogram. So the momentum is starting to get into this move higher. RSI is climbing higher. So I think keep an eye on Verizon for some sort of either a put spread in here, or the way I'm playing a lot of things right now, because I don't want to risk a lot, because I think we could really go one way or the other pretty heavily. I'm doing a lot of butterfly trades, very low cost, very high reward. If I get the direction right, pretty good reward to the risk that I'm putting in. All right, and then Disney is another one to take a quick look at. I know a couple of people have been touting, oh, Disney, it's going to be great, and look at what happened yesterday, earnings, and boom, there we go. It's rocketing out. Well, not so fast. Disney is still the same bad-looking stock that it was for the last year or so. This stock had a little bit of pop on earnings. Yes, you're bouncing off support here. Yeah, a little bit of a run on MACD. MACD might be flipping back down. Pretty good down day today. RSI coming back. I'm not saying it's going to zero. It's going to have to show me that it can bounce off this 21 and move higher. If you want to get long, I think you could, because I think with a good stop right below this support level, so you had a pretty good defined support level around 85, which is only 4 points away. If we get any more pullback and you want to get long, because that's your direction, fine. Again, I would be playing it with a butterfly in either move, because it could go higher and it could just, teeter off and crash back lower and break this support. So it could not hold above the 50 EMA today, and the 21 is still below the 50, so not super bullish, which are all below the 200. We've got a gap way up here. At some point, maybe we're going to try to fill this gap with Disney, but it's not going to be today. So we'll keep an eye on this gap. Take a look at this. So this gap runs all the way up to about 100. I think it's going to want 100 at some point. So I think you could play the upside at some point, but I would give this thing a little bit of a bounce, and let's see how you can play Disney. Let's take a quick look at the account today and see where we were, and then we'll wrap up with you on the day. So let's move into our portfolio. So this is the Income Navigator portfolio on the Friday the 11th. We ended the week today with delta of 579, right at 0.2, exactly where we want to be at our max. So we managed to keep this thing pretty much within reason. I'd like to get some lower deltas going, but we'll keep an eye on it. Theta up to 790 today. We did take a trade off, put a new trade on. So we had a nice winner today. Net lick 283, 172. So it popped up again on the day. So it's at its highest point for the week. So nicely up for the week. BP usage kind of spiked at the end of the day. Kind of a weird number that we got, but we'll keep it 55.84. We're totally fine. So our key Greeks, delta 0.2. That's perfect. That's our maximum plus or minus. Okay, theta 0.28. We'd like to get to 0.3 or higher, but we're not far off. And BP usage 50%. We're just a fraction above that right now. So we'll keep an eye on BPUs. We'd like to get that down, close out a few of these positive delta trades, which could get both our deltas down and our BPUs down. But we also made $713 more on the day, up $2,734 on the week this week. So another good week in the books. Last week, 31.12. This week, 27.34. We are pretty much on our targets of trying to make around $2,000 a week, which is about 1% in our account. So we're actually, that's a little bit more than our normal target. Monthly, we're up $3,706 for 1.29%, and we're 11 days in. We're well on our pace to our 3% monthly goal. And from a net lick standpoint, we're down about $3,000 since the start of the month, which was our all-time high water mark in here. So this 286 mark that we hit at the end of last month, we're down $3,000 to that, which is about 1%, which is not really big down. I'm less concerned about my net lick value than I am about generating cash every single week, and that's what we're doing. Let's take a look at what trades happened today. So when we look at the trades for today that came off, we had a ES Strangle come off. This is one of the ones that we've been doing weekly strangles, but we're switching to just closing them at a 50% rate versus forcing them off on weekly so that we can size these up. And you can see this was only a 1 contract trade. We're going to be moving to 2 contract trades so that we could size up. We just can't do those on a weekly basis due to our BP allocations by strategy. But we netted $563 on that particular trade, 50% winner, which is a 16.4% return on capital in 44 days. So fantastic return there. And then we also put in a 0 DTE call spread today, was down a bit. And I'm going to give a shout out to Lance at Theta Traders. Lance, this was actually his trade. I borrowed it today. I diamond handed it today because technically this should have been a stop out. I did not want to stop out. Looking at where the internals were on the day, it got up a bit to about a 4x stop. Normally I would stop out at a 2x loss, and it was not 4x, about 3x loss is where it got to today. But I kept on holding on to that and closed for a nice 50% winner today. Don't recommend it to everybody, but I really just felt with the internals and the strong PPI numbers this morning that this was not a positive big run day that we were going to have. So we got a little bit of a bounce after this morning sell-off, and then we cooled back off. So we were able to put these two trades on today. Hats off to Lance. And $713 to the good today. Fantastic week for us here in the Income Navigator portfolio. All of our positions look to be in great shape. There you go, a little bit of a peek at what they are. We're rocking and rolling ahead. We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy a fantastic weekend. We'll get you some more videos over the weekend. We've got a couple strategies, a couple things we're going to run through with you, but we are now up again, $3,700 on the month, 12 winners, 3 losers, having a great month so far already, and it's only 11 days in. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Take care.